Everyone knows what an architect is, right? It's someone who designs a building or a structure and then constructs that building. But do y'all know what a landscape architect is? Most of y'all heads are probably shaking no right now. Well, a landscape architect is someone who builds/designs a landscape around the building. So you have your architect that builds the building, and then you have your landscape architect that creates a beautiful scenery design around the building to make it more appealing for guests to come in and enjoy the architecture structure. Hi, I'm Abigail McKeon, and I am studying landscape architecture for ISM. So, most of y'all didn't know what landscape architecture actually was. So, how do I, a little old me, know what landscape architecture is? Well, I took a architecture class here at O'Connor High School, which introduced me to landscape architecture for half of a semester during my sophomore year. This allowed me to actually look into all of this stuff and be able to understand, oh, okay, this is kind of a different branch of architecture that is more outdoorsy and is more about plants, really. And I actually really liked it better than the actual just usual architecture stuff. So I started looking more into landscape architecture and into that branch more. And that's when I joined ISM this year, so that way I could actually go out into the real world and see what a landscape designer actually does in real life. For our agenda today, I'm going to be talking about ISM, what we do in ISM, why I took ISM, and what ISM has you involved in. I'm also going to be talking about my wonderful mentor and what she's done for me. I'm going to be talking about mentor visits, what we do, why we do them. I'm going to be talking about my product development, which is required for ISM, that we do at the end of the year, every year. And then I'm going to conclude my slides with what I learned throughout the year through ISM or with my mentor and out in the real life world. So what is ISM? ISM stands for Independent Study Mentorship. The I for independent allows you to pick your own topic. You have your own time management skills that you learn, which is basically knowing what times you're available, getting in contact with your mentor, figuring out what works for both of y'all, and just being able to figure out meetings and all that good stuff on your own instead of having your teacher say, oh, okay, you can only visit on Wednesdays and that's it. It's completely dependent on you, so you have to be more independent. We also get an honors, like 5+ honors points, and we get a speech credit for this class, which is also part of our independent part where we have to be more involved to be able to get those points and stuff like that. For S, it stands for study, which is which is for speeches, which I'm doing right now. We used to only do 2 to 3 minute speeches at the beginning, and now I'm here doing a 25-minute speech. It's crazy how far we've gotten on those. We also do reflection journals so we can study what we did during our mentor meetings and what we learned. So we actually notice, oh, hey, we're studying something. This is the real thing. This is the real deal. We also create college research papers, college essays. We create our own resume. We do scholarships. We also do annotated bibliographies, which helps us learn more about our topic. For instance, in landscape architecture, for one of them, it was a technology bibliography. So I had to look up what technology we use, why we use it, and all that good stuff on it. And so you would write a paper and you kind of study certain things inside of your topic that you would probably need to know throughout the whole entire time you're working. And then M for mentorship, well, it kind of explains itself. It's where you actually go see your mentor. Those are your mentor visits, whether in person or virtual. This also you also build a resume in this piece. It Your mentorship is also included on your resume to give you like more um, intel on what you're actually doing. So that way, if people hire you, it's like, oh, hey, she kind of has experience in landscape architecture. She might know something about it. So they might hire you easier. So it kind of helps you out there. And overall, your mentorship gives you firsthand experience in the topic, in the job. That way, you know what you're getting into if you want to pursue this in a future career. So, my mentor is Hannah Crabtree. She's a landscape designer at Matt W. Stevens Landscape Architect LLC, or MWSLA. She used to work at um, a a commercial. There we go. A commercial place where she was kind of just a part of one specific thing out of the whole entire design, which she really didn't like. So that's why she moved to San Antonio, and she joined Matt at his residential firm. And so now she kind of gets more hands-on experience with every single design that comes her way, instead of just doing one piece of that whole entire design. So my mentor has overall right now, she's been teaching me everything that's come with her job, and she's giving me real life experiences, going to meet with clients or just watching her create a design. She's also showed me, like I said, her designs, her site plans, her renders, her idea sketches, and and all of that good stuff that comes with her job. So that way I get a better intel what comes with a landscape architect's job or a landscape designer's job. So what are mentor visits? Mentor visits are where we go in to the office and we communicate with our mentor and we talk about what their day-to-day life is, or week to week, what they what struggles they have to deal with, what they love about their job every day when they walk in, all that good stuff. This is for us to get more of an idea of what they're actually doing in their job, and what they're doing in their job, and just being able to kind of understand what comes with their job, how big is the workload, just so we kind of get more of an intel like, okay, this is what I'm going to be looking into. Is this really what I want to do, or is this not what I want to do? It kind of helps you make those decisions when you're at your mentor meetings. But overall, it's to help you learn what they're actually doing at their job every single day. So that way you learn, okay, well, this is what their job consists of. Is this what I want to do? Probably. Or if not, if it's just for fun, I mean, you're learning what they get to do, which is pretty awesome. For me and Hannah, our mentor visit routine is I walk in there, I say hi to all the coworkers, and I sit down next to Hannah, and I usually just kind of bump right into whatever she's doing. She'll usually be doing a site plan on AutoCAD, or creating a render, or she'll be working in Photoshop or SketchUp and working on a picture, so that way it helps the client see what she's thinking of doing in the design. She'll be literally coloring with color pencils on on her table if she was rendering. Um, so I would just walk in there and see whatever she's doing, and then Hannah will kind of explain the project what the project is kind of consisting of, what she's created so far, what she's kind of struggling on with it. And she'll talk about all those kind of things. So that way I know, okay, I understand like what she's kind of going through right now through this project. So that way, like I can look at it and understand, okay, this is what she's doing right now. So then I just kind of just watch her and like kind of hang back. I ask her a lot of questions and she always has an answer, which is amazing. and I'll just watch her, and I'll just kind of be like, oh, okay, so that tree right there, that's going to help to provide shade over the pool, or some questions like that, just for me to like kind of grasp onto what she's doing in the design. And then recently we've been working on my product, so we've been both collaborating on it, going through some things. I've definitely had a lot of questions during all of that, and all and being able to just grab a hold of what she's actually doing, and for me to learn it. It's been a real adventure for both of us, but I think we're kind of getting the hang of it together. And so she's been helping me out with my product a lot recently. So that's kind of our routine. But my all time two favorite visits, I would have to say, was our first visit and our client visits. I guess that kind of counts as more than one visit, but like they're kind of the same, so I count them as one visit. So my first visit, when we first introduced each other, that was my all-time favorite because I had no idea what I was going to be expecting. I hadn't quite seen her face. We had talked over the phone, kind of like as an interview, so that way we she knew what she was getting into, and she was starting to get to know me a little bit. That way, I'm not a complete stranger, right? I'm not just someone off the streets like, hey, can I do this internship with you or something like that. She got to learn what I was kind of into, and what like brought me to start doing landscape architecture. So when we first introduced each other on that first visit, it was crazy. I wasn't expecting Hannah to be so tall, and I was kind of like 2 feet shorter than her, which was just miraculous. But that was my first initial impression. And then we started getting to know each other. She told me about where she went to college and what she got her degree in. She also was telling me a lot of her backstories in college, like what were her struggles, what like she wasn't expecting in college, and all of that good stuff. And she straight off the bat told me, hey, if you're going into this, you better love it with all your heart, because if you're doing this in college and you're kind of just flying by in it and you're not smiling every time you create a design, and then it's not for you, because you will not make it through all of those courses. And that was a huge eye opener for me. Whenever she started talking about that, I was like, whoa, okay. And so I just loved how honest she was. She was dead on. She was like, I'm going to tell you the truth, and I'm not going to lie. It is hard and it's not going to be easy, but you're going to have to live with it. And I was like, okay, let's do this. This is my mentor right here. So I just absolutely loved her from the very beginning. That was my favorite visit. And she straight up, she was like, I'm also going to give you all of these websites that you can look at, because I think they really help during like learning about it and getting to you also can get like notifications of like what's new, like if there's um, like an event going on about landscape architecture, you can know. So she like sent me this email of everything that of all these different websites I can go to learn about landscape architecture and what's really going on in the real world right now. So that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that. So that was my like first visit, and I already loved her. I already loved the fact of like going into landscape architecture. I was so excited. And then my second favorite visit were my client visits. Here are some of the pictures. I did get to meet 2 clients with Hannah. One of them did live in Florida, so it was kind of everything was kind of online and everything. And I got to join 2 of the Zoom meetings. One of them was the actual first Zoom meeting, where I got to talk, well, I didn't really talk to them. I more like listened to them, where I got to listen in on their conversation. I got to see what Hannah would ask a client in the very beginning to like know, hey, what do you want in your design? Or what are you looking for? And usually they'll have kind of somewhat of an idea of what they wanted. For example, they knew that they wanted a pool, and they knew that they wanted a fence to block off from like the front yard to the backyard, so that way people weren't like kind of peeking through the front all the way to the back, which was really good information for us to know, because then it's like, okay, then we can build a fence there, we can add a little gate, all that kind of cute stuff. And then from there, you keep asking them questions. Okay, what do you want around the pool? Do you want flagstone? Do you want grass? Then, depending on what they want, that's what you'll do. And you just kind of sketch your ideas on paper at that point. And it's just getting to know what the client is wanting, getting to know the client themselves, so that way you can kind of get their character, and like you can get some of that character and notice, okay, this is kind of what they're going to look for in their design, which is actually really cool. And then on this right side, you have, this one was in person. These are pictures of the actual site plan that they put out in front of the clients. This was kind of after very this was after their first meeting. I think they were meeting them in person for the second meeting, and that's when I went to do it. And that's when I went, and they had this whole design already planned out and everything. As you can see, they're both colored, which is what we call rendering. So it makes that more like visually appealing for the clients to be like, oh, okay, like those are bushes or those are trees. And then you can go like more in depth with it. And in the pool, you can even add little streaks of water like it's rippling, and you could go all the way into it. Some don't do that, some do, just depending on how much time you have with it also. So that's our rendering. That's what I was talking about earlier when I would go in and see Hannah just kind of coloring in everything. That's what rendering is. So when we were talking to the client during this one, they also had a side site plan that they were writing on. So that way they wouldn't ruin this one, but they still could take notes. And it was really cool because I didn't know what they were doing at first until I saw like Hannah writing things out. So she would like cross something out and then write something next to it. They don't want gravel, they want something more hardy, or other notes like that. And I was like, that's very, very smart on their part, because they can take that site plan home, back to the office, and then they can redesign everything in AutoCAD and all of that good stuff, which I thought was really, I was like, that is absolutely genius. Like, I didn't even think about that whenever I came. So I was like, they know what they're doing. So those were my two favorite client experiences for sure. It was very exciting to get to know the client, like talking to the client's aspect of landscape architecture, going in and talking to them, asking them questions. What do you want? What are you looking for? What kind of plants are you like? Are you wanting kind of a more modern look to it or a native look to it? Depending on what they want, then they'll kind of pick what type of plants they use. Also, where you live also is a very big part of what kind of plants you're going to get. And so it was very cool to learn that kind of side of landscape architecture, instead of like just the designing piece. Well, here's the client talking piece. And that was good to learn and see in real life, and kind of just visually be there and interacting with everyone to see, okay, this is what would really be happening when you're meeting with a client. Okay, so for ISM, you have to create a product, which requires your product development. And so this basically just shows what you've learned through the year of being with your mentor, going to your mentor visits, and you create a product based on what you've learned. So that way, they kind of know, okay, so you actually haven't just been sitting there just watching what they're doing, but you've actually learned something from it. And now you can put that to something that your mentor could use or their office could use. So for my product, I did a landscape design of my own, which Hannah helped me with. And this would be kind of what it would look like to a client whenever I would go meet with them, saying, okay, here's what we have for you today, and all of that good stuff. So for my product development ideas, we had to do a brainstorm. I know, so this is my brainstorm chart right here. So I was actually, at the very beginning, I was going to either do a landscape design, or I was going to do, I'm so sorry, I'm just going to get some water real quick. Yeah, I was either going to do a landscape design, or I was going to do just a normal like kind of SketchUp to kind of create a visual design of a part of it, like of a design, if that makes sense. So that way a client could visually understand what I was talking about at that moment. But then as I was talking with my mentor and as I was talking with my teacher, they were both kind of like, well, the SketchUp is a little too easy and it wouldn't really show that you've learned really that much other than how to work in SketchUp, which is pretty simple. So I was like, okay, then I guess I'm going to go with the landscape design and create my own design on an actual site plan. So that's what we wound up doing. So then I had to think about, okay, so I need to learn how to use AutoCAD. How am I going to learn AutoCAD? Where can I go use AutoCAD? Because I'm just out of school. And then what are my deadlines going to be? And then my biggest question was, is my mentor is she going to help me that much? Is she going to have time for me to ask her questions about it and all of that good stuff? And then we also have to think of, why does my mentor need this? What will it like what why will I need to be creating this to help my mentor? Well, for her, I mean, Hannah really can't like go out and use this product, but it does help her kind of, I think like it helps her kind of become more of a teacher at that point. And so she kind of has a different perspective on like teaching landscape architecture instead of learning landscape architecture. So she's kind of had that teacher preference to it instead of being like kind of a student. She's now mentoring someone, which I think is kind of a really cool thing, because then it's like you're kind of helping the next generation grow up to take your place soon in the world, which I thought was really nice. So we also have to create a product timeline for, I'm just going to move myself real quick so that way y'all can see the 25%. We have to do a product timeline and proposal. So for our timeline, we had to have our 25%, our 50%, 75%, and our 100%. So for my 25% for creating this design was just jotting down all of my ideas that I had for my site plan, which included drawings like you see on these two pieces of paper. I kind of drew like a little flower bed around a tree, and I also drew some vegetation garden kind of buckets of what I was thinking, okay, maybe I want to do that inside of my design because I know that's something that they wanted. And then over here on the left, you can kind of see like the whole design in total, what I was thinking of doing, how I wanted the flower beds to look, what that front sidewalk was going to look like, and the backyard, how was I going to like kind of keep it into a perimeter and all of that good stuff. So this piece was kind of exciting for me. It was kind of just jotting down my ideas. I did have kind of like a brain fart. So I was like, Hannah, I don't know what to do in the back. I don't know how to block off the pool from everything else. And so I did get a little help from Hannah on this piece of my product, but not too much help where it was kind of like, oh, well, then she just did it all. No, we both worked on it together, and we both kind of bounced ideas off of each other. I'm also going to move myself again because I didn't want you to see this. Okay. So for my 50%, It was basically just putting all of my ideas into AutoCAD, which is a program that everyone uses in landscape architecture. So that way it's kind of digital and you don't have to create a site plan and then someone wants to change a little piece of it. So then you have to create another site plan on another piece of paper. Now it's all digital and you can just go in, delete, or Control Z, undo, all of that good stuff, add things that they wanted. Makes our lives a lot easier to create designs for sure. So I was starting to put it into AutoCAD, and I was let me tell you, it was very hard to do AutoCAD, but I managed to get it, and this was my kind of final rough draft in AutoCAD. Then I sent it to my mentor, and that was the end of my 50%. Then came my 75%, which, let me tell you, was probably the hardest part about this, because I sent that in to Hannah and she sent me an email back about 3 hours later with all of these red lines. Now, what are red lines, you ask? It's basically just edits. So it's like if I were going into a client's house with my design, they would be, I'd be like, okay, this is what we have. And they'd be like, I just don't like this front piece right here. We just need to change that flower bed up. I can't with it. It just looks too bland to me. So then on my site plan, I would be writing bigger flower bed, make it more extravagant, and all of that good stuff. So that's what Hannah did for me, because she was kind of like my fake client at this point. And so all of these red lines were all things that I needed to fix or change up or to add things so that way like it would make it better. And then also we colored a lot. We color coded all the plants to kind of make it more uniform instead of just all over the place. Because I had my plants all over the place, just like placing them like, yep, that looks good there. Yep, that looks good there. And then Hannah was kind of like, you kind of need a little bit of structure to it. So I was like, okay, I understand. So I started working with that. And that was my editing stage. That was my 75%, where I was just adding my finishing touches to my AutoCAD product, which leads me to my product dilemmas. My biggest problem that I faced when creating my product was learning how to use AutoCAD, because AutoCAD is a very intricate source of like usage, and it was not easy at all to learn for sure. I had to spend 3 weeks just learning the AutoCAD program, and that was with Hannah's help. I don't know what I would have been doing if I didn't have Hannah's help on that. I probably wouldn't even have my final product done by now if I didn't have any help learning AutoCAD in the first place. So that was one of my biggest dilemmas. And then my other dilemma was not having a lot of time in the editing stage. So I really didn't get to edit as much as I would have liked to in my final design. So I kind of look at it and be like, oh, I kind of missed this tree that I was going to delete, but it's okay. It's just another tree. It helps the environment. But that was another kind of dilemma I had, was just staying on my timeline overall. So here's my final product. This is what I would be showing a actual client in real life. I have my plant list over here, which is all the like pictures of plants, so that way they know what they're getting inside of their design. Because I mean, if you're a regular person, do you know what an agapanthus is? Everyone is like, huh? What is that right now? Yeah. No, I mean, I didn't even know what an agapanthus was until when I started and Hannah was talking about it. And I asked her, I was like, what's an agapanthus, if you don't mind telling me? And so she showed me a picture of it, just like what she would do for a client. So that was pretty awesome. And then over here on the right is my actual design, of what I actually did. This is an actual real life client that they did have, and I just kind of created a design on, so like it was just kind of imaginary. So this isn't going to be done in real life, but it was a good experience to know. Okay, this was actually like this is an actual client. This is what you could have actually done, and all of that good stuff. So I did add a extravagant flower bed up here and a beautiful flower bed around, just to kind of emphasize that big extravagant entryway that they had. It was kind of like a beautiful staircase. I was like, okay, well, we can all bring it in, and like it's like all those plants are like kind of grabbing you in to see the beautiful staircase that's in front of you. So that was pretty. That was kind of the biggest part of this, was doing those two flower beds, because that's what took a lot of work, and then creating that kind of color coat and structure of the plants, that took up most of my time. Then you can kind of see there's a driveway here, and then there's an extension of parking, so that way if they have a big party, there's more parking. There's kind of a curvy sidewalk that I created, just to kind of flow into that circular pattern of a flower bed that I created. And then in the back, they wanted a pool. So we added the pool. And then around it is kind of mortared flagstone, just to make it a little countrier and prettier. And then all around, overall, all the plants are native landscaping. So it's like your laurels, your kind of grassy type plants, and all of that good stuff. So that way it kind of made it seem like they're still out in the country. And that's also why I chose the mortar flagstone, because it's kind of countrier, makes it feel like you're still outside, out in like nature. It's like kind of like you're just picking up rocks and putting them there like you would find in an outside environment, seeing that San Antonio has so many rocks. And then overall around it, you see all these trees and all of that good stuff. And that just helps with kind of keeping the sight line of your neighbors to like peeking in. Is like, yoo-hoo, what you doing? Instead, I kind of blocked it off with some trees, just to give them more privacy, which I know everybody wants. So that is my overall final product. Throughout this whole entire journey, I couldn't have done any of this if it weren't for Hannah. She was a great mentor. Thank you so much for taking me on, taking the time out of your day and helping me learn about landscape architecture. I know it wasn't easy taking an hour every out of your week to talk to a high schooler about what landscape architecture was. And I can't thank you enough for putting all of that time into me and helping me with my product so much. Definitely wouldn't have had a final product if it weren't for all of your awesome, amazing help. Um, and I'd like to thank you for just giving me the opportunity to follow you, and just being there whenever I had a question. You always had an answer, which was amazing. And just, I don't know what I would have been doing this whole entire year if you hadn't said yes to be my mentor. I don't know what I would be like thinking about if I didn't have you, Hannah, as my mentor. You were so strong, you were so confident, and it just made me more confident throughout the whole entire year that I liked landscape architecture. And you just made it overall 10 times funner than it would have been with anyone else. So thank you so much for being my mentor and helping me out through all of this. I honestly couldn't have explored this journey without you. So, what did I learn through ISM and my mentor? Well, let me tell you, I learned absolutely a lot. I learned all about landscape architecture. I learned what it takes to actually do something in the landscape architecture business. So now when I go to college, I actually have more intelligence compared to all the people who else are going into landscape architecture than I would have if I hadn't taken ISM. I've learned how to do site plans, create my own design, talk to clients a little bit. Overall, it's helped me learn so much about what my mentor does on a day-to-day basis and everything like that. I also got to learn how to use AutoCAD, which was extremely hard and is extraordinary for a high schooler like me to learn in such a short amount of time. So I sort of got ahead of the game, which was really great overall. I also learned how to create college essays, how to start scholarships. I learned how to have more time management, which I really didn't have last year. And so I'm kind of getting into like the swing of things with, okay, this is what you need to do on Monday. This is what you need to do on Tuesday. Don't forget you have your mentor meeting on Wednesday. Just having those, like having a calendar with you. I've learned that you need a calendar in life because if you don't have a calendar, you do not know what you're doing. So that helped a lot through everything. And just being able to speak to professionals, being able to speak to Hannah's boss, Matt, or her coworkers, Maya and Drew, just being able to communicate with them professionally and be in that workplace and talking to them. It gave me that real life experience that I've always wanted, that I've needed throughout the years. And it's just helped me learn, okay, this is probably what I want to do in life. Not probably. You do want to do this in life because you can't be not positive when you're learning about landscape architecture. But overall, I learned so much, and I'm so thankful for everyone around me who allowed me to do this, topic and allowed me to go and venture out and learn about everything and just supported me 100% through all of it. So that is basically my whole entire speech. I hope it didn't take too much time out of your day, and I hope y'all have an amazing day.